Hello, fellow viewers. We are talking about the rise of Rome. Since it's a school project. Yeah! I'm gonna be doing topic by topic. Pause if you want. I don't really care. So, first topic, the land of Italy and its people. So, Italy is a peninsula in Europe which extends about 1,207 kilometers long and about only 193 kilometers wide. Then the Apennine mountain range goes across the north to south of Italy. Italy was the perfect location for settling in. Italy had a lot of fertile plains, which was great for farming, and Rome still had a route to sea, yet still far away enough to be relatively safe from pirates. The Italian peninsula was an important crossroad from the West Mediterranean Sea to the east. This was a really good place to settle in, so around 1500 BC to 1000 BC, Indo-Europeans moved in Italy. They spoke Latin, and most of them were herders and farmers who lived in huts on top of hills. Later on, in 800 BC, other people also began to settle in Italy, but they were mostly Greeks and Etruscans. The Greeks came in large numbers to southern Italy and slowly moved up to the peninsula. But most of early northern Rome was influenced by Etruscans. Rome used to be a village, but the Etruscans launched a program to make it a city. Rome borrowed a lot of ideas from the Etruscans, and Rome was under the control of 7 kings, except the Etruscan kings were overthrown and established as a republic in 500 BC. The republic is not a monarch, and some citizens had the right to vote. This was a new beginning of a new era in Rome's history.
Wars and Conquest.
Rome was surrounded by enemies at the beginning of the Republic for 200 years. Then they crushed the Latin states in Latium in 338 BC. In the next 50 years, Rome fought against people from Central Apennines, and some settled in the south of Rome, but they won. Now has control over a large part of the Italian peninsula, which caused conflict and put them in direct contact with the Greek communities. Hey look, another war. But by 264 BC, they overcame the Greeks and conquered all of Italy. Romans devised the Roman Confederation, letting some people like Latins to have Roman citizenship. Loyal allies could improve their status and become citizens. Romans believed that their early ancestors were successful because of their sense of duty, courage, and discipline. There was a sudden invasion, which prompted fellow citizens to quickly call for someone for leadership. They picked Lucius Cincinnatus to become the dictator. He led the army to victory, and then he resigned and returned to his farm. He had all the power to do anything he wants, but it was a good thing that he just decided to go back to his farm. Romans were good diplomats, letting other people have a Roman citizenship and allowing states to run their own internal affairs, but also could be firm and even cruel, crushing rebellions. Romans excelled in military matters. When they lose an army or fleet, they just go on and build new armies.
Roman political structure.
The Roman political structure is the government and stuff like that and how the system worked. Early Rome was divided into two groups, patricians and plebeians. Patricians were wealthy landowners becoming Rome's ruling class. The less wealthy people were in a larger group called plebeians. Both classes did the same things except patricians was able to be elected to government offices. The chief executive officers or the Roman Republic were the consuls and praetors. 2 consuls were chosen every year. They ran the government and led the army. The praetors were in charge of laws. When Rome was expanding, they added another praetor. The Roman Senate was important too. It was a select group of 300 patricians. It used to be to advise government officials, but in the 3rd century BC, the Senate advice had the force of law.
The struggle of the orders.
There was often conflict between patricians and plebeians in the early Roman Republic. Plebeians thought they deserved equality with the patricians, so in 471 BC, the Council of the Plebs was created. New officials as tribunes of the plebs were given the power to protect the plebeians. Later on, in 4th century BC, plebs would be able to marry patricians and become consuls. Finally, in 287 BC, the Council of Plebs were able to pass laws for all Romans. All male Roman citizens were now supposedly equal under the law. Why only males, you may ask, or not? Probably not. Yeah, but whatever. This is a long time ago when males were way more dominant than females. But well, the wealthy patrician and plebeian families formed a new senatorial ruling class to dominate the political offices. The Roman Republic was actually not a democracy when it should have.
Roman law.
This is a really short topic, but whatever, I guess. So, Romans' first code of laws was the 12 Tables and was adopted in 450 BC. The 12 Tables was very simple and was meant for early Rome, except the Romans developed a more sophisticated system of civil law from the 12 Tables later on, being applied to Roman citizens.
Roman expansion.
After their conquest of Italy, the Romans had to face a very strong power in the Mediterranean, which was the state of Carthage. The Phoenicians found Carthage around 800 BC, which is on the coast of North Africa. Later, around 3rd century BC, Carthage was an enormous trading empire in the western Mediterranean and coast of North Africa. Carthaginians settled on the island Sicily, which is close to the Italian coast and made Romans fearful. In 264 BC, the two powers began a long struggle for control of the western Mediterranean. This is what started the First Punic War.
The First Punic War.
Rome had its first Carthage war in 264 BC. It was called the First Punic War after the Latin for Phoenician, Punicus. The war started when Rome sent an army to Sicily, but the Carthaginians thought Sicily was part of their empire. This caused conflict and created an active war. Both sides wanted to conquer Sicily. The Romans were better with land power, so they were losing. But finally, Rome built a navy and their fleet defeated the Carthaginian navy off the coast of Sicily, and war came to an end in 241 BC. Carthage wanted a revenge though, but added new lands in Spain to make up for the loss of Sicily. The Romans encouraged one of Carthage's Spanish allies to revolt against Carthage. Hannibal, the greatest of the Carthaginian generals, struck back in response. Hannibal was raised being taught to always hate Romans. Then the Second Punic War started.
The Second
Punic
War.
The Second Punic War lasted for 17 years, or 218 BC to 201 BC. Hannibal decided to bring the war to Rome, so he went to Spain, moved east, and crossed the Alps with an army of about 46,000 men, a lot of horses, and 37 battle elephants. But the Alps killed most of the elephants due to its environment, I guess. But the remaining army posed a real threat. In 216 BC, the Romans met Hannibal head-on, but it was a serious mistake. At Cannae, Hannibal's forces devastated the Roman army, killing as many as 40,000 people. Some of the southern Italian cities rebelled against Roman rule to go to Hannibal's side. Rome almost lost, but they gradually recovered. Hannibal remained free to Roman Italy, but wasn't powerful enough to attack major cities. Rome was able to reconquer some of the Italian cities from Hannibal. They also pushed the Carthaginians out of Spain. Rome decided to fight Carthage rather than fight Hannibal in Italy, which is a really good idea because it forced Hannibal to return to Carthage. At the Battle of Zama in 202 BC, the Romans, led by Scipio Africanus, crushed Hannibal's forces, ending the war. Carthage lost Spain, and Rome became the dominant power of the western Mediterranean. The Romans attempted to catch Hannibal for years, but Hannibal poisoned himself in Bithynia once the Romans found him. More conquests. After 50 years, Rome fought Carthage for the third and final time. A lot of Romans wanted to completely destroy Carthage, so in 146 BC, Carthage was destroyed. Roman soldiers burned and demolished the city, and 50,000 people were sold into slavery. Carthage became a Roman province in Africa. Romans also fought against the Hellenistic state Macedonia, except in 148 BC. The fourth and last Macedonian War ended and Macedonia became a Roman province. 2 years later, Greece was placed under the Roman governor of Macedonia. In 129 BC, Pergamum, per, Pergamum became Rome's first Asian province. Rome was now the master of the entire Mediterranean Sea.